Good evening, everyone. We're trying this again. Let's hope I don't hear myself so far. That's a good start. Okay, we're gonna bring James back on again and hope we have figured out the issue. Hi, James. How you
Hello
doing?
there.
I'm
Yeah.
not hearing any delayed audio so far. Fingers crossed. So we'll go from here. So the
Yeah. There's anything
wonderful world of
rebooting
tech.
can't do.
Yeah. So thank you. Welcome for being on the show. All the way from Canada. I think you're my first Canadian guest I've had
Oh wow.
so far. I've had them in the Philippines, East Africa, Ireland. So
Wow.
a lot of Colorado authors since that's where I live. But
Ah.
appreciate you being on tonight. Um, so tell us a little bit about yourself. All the important stuff people need to know.
Well, my name is James Bow. I'm a writer of young adult science fiction and fantasy. In uh, I was born in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and I currently live in Kitchener, Ontario. By the day, I'm a communications officer, and but my passion is in writing novels.
Yeah, so I saw that you had a lot of different jobs through the years. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Urban planner, database manager, web designer, circulation manager, administrative assistant, layout designer, and office manager.
That's what
So
you get for graduating in the middle of the 1990s recession.
a lot of jumping around and stuff.
Yeah.
So which of those jobs helped prepare you to be an author? Any of those? I mean, obviously a lot of those jobs require some
Oh,
writing,
yeah.
but not necessarily fiction.
Well, honestly, I mean, I was a writer all my life. My parents were both librarians. My mother was an author, and I've been always interested in reading and writing. But I was always pushed and pushed myself to study something more academic to in the search of getting a quote unquote real job. Although I did follow my passions in terms of um, becoming an urban planner, studying 4 years about how cities are made and how cities work with people, that sort of thing. And though I couldn't make a career out of it, again, 1990s recession, um, it's still a big part of who I am when when I think about some issues. But through it all, and all the jobs that I've done, database assistant, circulation officer, the best thing about it was the chance that I got to actually sit down and write, put words to paper, actually communicate ideas. And the worst job would be the database assistant job because that has the least amount of writing in it. It's all data and all these like names, numbers, and sales codes, and I spent 3 years, with that sort of job that paid the bills but ate my soul type of thing. Before I just had to get away from that, and in order to keep on paying the bills, I did other administrative jobs. But I had been writing fan fiction mostly. I was writing Doctor Who fan fiction a lot, and
Mhm.
early in my 30s, I just wanted to. I started to branch out from that and try and write something that was in its own universe. And a set of ideas came together, which turned into my first novel, The Unwritten Girl, and that was published in accepted by the Dunder Group. It's a small publisher in Toronto, and published in 2006. So um, I still have to find a day job, but I still managed to get my writing out, and that fed my soul.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize, most authors, it doesn't pay the bills to be an
Yeah.
author. It's you have to have something else to fall back on unless you're, one of the big names like Michael Connelly or somebody like that.
Oh
The
yeah.
money just rolls into them. They have a little wheelbarrows of money wheeling up to them, but 99% of the authors, that isn't true.
That's true.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
database. So was it all database entry, or did you actually do programming in the database? So build.
No, it was mostly was well database programming, and that's still pretty soul eating. But that did teach me to work with computers and do things like create websites. And there's some creativity in that, in coding HTML. But it's writing that's really my passion. Yeah.
So what did you read when you were a youngster? What really drew you, gave you passionate about being a writer, possibly, and
Well,
what did you enjoy?
my parents, being librarians, made sure that I had an appreciation of writing and stories. Um, my mother had a tradition of, making reading. She read to me at bedtime long before I think most people would think it being cool to do so. But so she made sure that I got, the whole Narnia series. She made sure that she read to me the Lord of the Rings. Um, we also did Gordon Corman, his series on the Scholastic author, and that's one of the things that my wife, who's also a writer, and I have taken on when we got together. One of the traditions we started was we would make sure that I would read to her every night, and through that we've been going through Terry Pratchett and Martha Wells's Murderbot Diaries and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's how we keep reading. Make sure we read before we go to bed.
And did you like to write as well when you
Yeah,
after
there
reading?
was. I mean, my mother was a writer, and so I copied her. And again, it was a lot of. It was initially all Doctor Who. I'm not sure if you know the series, but
Oh yeah,
I mean, it is.
and a lot of people who've played Doctor Who through the years, and
Yeah,
some
but it
have
is.
even come back.
Yeah, oh yeah. I would say it's the best way to get into writing because it's the most flexible format in fiction. I mean, it dresses itself up in science fiction tropes about time machines and aliens, but it's really about a wizard with a magical cabinet that could take him anywhere in the universe at any time. It could literally plunk him down into any story. He's a portable hero that is can be just dropped into any sort of scenario the writers would like to try out and zoom off from there. And when you're starting out as a writer, I mean, that's half the work done for you. And it's a and but Doctor Who also, the thing about fan fiction is that there are fans who like to read this stuff, and that immediately gives you an audience that can critique your work and encourage you and help you get better. So uh, I, as a writer, I'm not ashamed to say that I came up through fan fiction. I was writing fan fiction for. Excuse me, I'm closing a window there. There's some people shouting outside. I was writing fan fiction. I think a good 10, 15 years before I started to write my own material, and by doing that, made sure that my own material was a lot closer to being ready to publish than it would be if I started from scratch.
You get free beta. Well, beta
Yeah.
readers are generally free, but you get people to critique what you write and maybe make suggestions and stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's a good community, and it's very affirming, which is also important for a very young writer.
So was this on Wattpad?
Oh, this was before Wattpad. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
when I'm
This
talking
my
about
daughter
fans,
is used writes a lot on Wattpad. So yes.
this is the early 90s. I was using
Wow.
photocopiers to create physical magazines, and I learned how to saddle staple so I could actually fold them over so that they would open like a real magazine, not just these staples on the side
Right.
that that you would do. So that's actually given me a love of the actual design of putting together books and magazines too, and that's how I spent some of my day job working on. organizations' news magazines, or in one case, when I was self-publishing a book, actually going out and designing it. So that's also that's a lot of fun too.
So, what do you do to decompress as an author? You know, there's a lot of people think, well, it's easy to write books, but it's not. It can be stressful. It can be, you know, you really got that new book coming out, and it's like you're hoping to get a lot of sales and all that. But what do you do to decompress? Do you have
Uh,
anything, any hobbies or something that?
That's a hard question because I am sort of piling my day up. We have our day jobs, and then we have the jobs that we're passionate about, which is our writing. But they're both jobs,
Yes.
and so you know, it's easy to overload. Um, Decompressing for me has meant watching television or reading books, or just even just stopping and staring at Facebook and getting addicted to their short reels, unfortunately. But yeah, and but other things like spending time with your kids and seeing the world through them, that does help. Um, but if my case, if I have a project going, that if I have a project that's caught fire within me, then that that helps me decompress doing the work.
So how old are your kids, and are they do they enjoy writing as well and reading?
Well, both my kids. My eldest is turning 20 this year, which is horrifying. I mean, it was only I remember them being born,
Yes.
so it makes no sense to me that they are now 20 and turning 20 and turning 18. The eldest is a promising graphic designer and likes doing art. Uh, they also are into creativity through the shared storytelling experience of D&D. The youngest uh, likes world building and creating lore and you know continents and characters, not necessarily stories, but certainly the stuff that goes around stories. So, and they're not doing it for money or fame or anything. They're doing it just because, and but that's all the reason you need.
Yeah. So do you remember the first thing you ever wrote and what the
Yeah,
motivation was behind writing it?
yeah, and it's unfortunately out there somewhere.
It's always fun looking back at that old stuff, right? You
Oh
know,
yeah,
I got a whole filing cabinet full of stuff I wrote when I was in my 20s and 30s. So,
aside from the things that you know my mother kept in a file somewhere, which is now in my garage. Um, I did. It was again Doctor Who fan fiction, and I did manage to submit it to the local Doctor Who fan fiction group, and they put it out in their magazine. So
no,
it was,
that's
it
not
was,
been too bad then.
yeah. Well, I mean, it was fan fiction.
Yeah.
It varies, and it was definitely written a lot with a lot more confidence and skill. But I do it. The fact that I was able to do it, I think, is a genuine accomplishment, and the fact that they accepted it and printed it on their photocopied uh, photocopied magazine was set me on that road. The boost of confidence that you need at an early age to keep going.
So you mentioned on your website about enjoying young adult stories, and so what was that? What did you find passionate or what you enjoy about reading young adult type of stories?
I do find that a lot of what I read about that appeals to me, and a lot of what I end up writing about. I mean, I don't set out to be a YA writer, but my writing tends to fall into there because I tend to gravitate to stories where people discover their own identity. They discover who they are, and the whole coming of age story is a very powerful narrative, and it's it can be used and explored in so many different ways. And so that's I find it appealing to read, and I find it appealing to write. I mean, um, Madeline L'Engle's A Wrinkle in Time directly inspired my first three fantasy novels: The Unwritten Girl, Fathom Five, and The Young City, because I reread The Wrinkle in Time at the time, and Madeline is a fantastic writer, and she's got a great character in Meg Murray, and I loved the chemistry and the friendship between her and Calvin O'Keefe. And she follows that up with A Wind in the Door, where these characters that were 13 are now 16, and they have their story is slightly more mature. They're very obviously Meg and Calvin are very obviously falling in love, but are in denial about it while all this other stuff is happening, and that was intriguing to me. And I wanted to see what was next. But the next story in the progression is A Swiftly Tilting Planet, where Meg is 24, married to Calvin, and expecting their first child. And I'm like, Meg, but Madeline, you missed a step. So, I mean, I wanted to write a series that, captured these two individuals that were thrust together by chance, become fast friends, and then develop a deeper relationship as they get older and as they enter adulthood. And I wanted to see, all the stages of, when they finally take that final step. And so that's what I did. The Unwritten Girl, the characters are 12 and have a story where they have to rescue Rosemary's brother from the land of fiction. And in Fathom 5, the characters are 15 and they have a slightly darker tale about sirens in Georgian Bay. And in The Young City, they are 18 and they fall through a hole in a basement in Toronto and into an underground river. And when they crawl out, it's 1884 Toronto, and they have to sort of make a life there for a while. And how does that happen? So that long term development of those characters was inspired directly by Madeline's work.
So you have a book that just came out.
Mhm.
We want to talk about that.
Yeah. Well,
Give us a little bit about that. And I've got the cover here,
yeah.
and it's actually more kind of a re-release from
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, the book is The Night Girl. It was initially released by Roots Publications in the United States in 2019, and the editor was fantastic, and everything was great, but it was still a small publisher, so unfortunately the publisher didn't last, and
Right.
I was able to get my rights back. And thanks to Ed Willett at Shadowpaw Press in Regina, who also published my recent novel the Sunrunners and its companion anthology, Tales from the Silence, he agreed to take on the re release of this book with a fresh new cover and Canadian spelling, and re release it under his banner. And his publisher, it's a it's a very he's a very dedicated editor and publisher, and a very hard worker. The Shadowpaw Press has been punching well above its weight in terms of getting attention, getting award nominations, and getting distribution. So I'm really excited to have this book back in print and in better bookstores everywhere.
So was it a struggle to get the rights back? I hear about a lot of authors who have it, and
Well, I mean, it took some time, but I mean, the original editor was very friendly about this and very honest about what was happening, and they had, but the contract had been very clear about what had happened and what needed to be done. So it was a matter of just contacting them, and they took care of their issues on their side, got it out of Amazon's clutches, which I'm sure would have been the trickiest thing, and managed to make and got me free and clear, and that allowed me to get it into Ed's hands at Shadowpaw Press.
so did you rewrite the book in any way? Have
Uh,
you re-edited, or what?
well, I mean, I joke that it's like the Night Girl now with Canadian spelling. Uh, there was substantial. I mean, it had. I started writing this novel back in 2003, and I did a complete rewrite of it in 2013 after I failed to get it into publication. And so I had done a ground up rewrite of it, and then it went through the editing process with Roots, and that had taken care of most of the rest of it. So I didn't really have to do a lot of work except do the changes for the Canadian spelling in the book.
So what's the story about?
Well, it's a typical tale about a young woman who comes to the big city looking for work, in this case Toronto, and finds it as an admin assistant at an employment agency seeking work for goblins and trolls. I mean, you could say that her boss is a real troll, but actually he's a goblin, and that's not that bad. So it's a story about, again, finding yourself and also seeing what's hiding in plain sight. It's also a story about the people who live slightly invisibly among us and their struggles and how we should and how we need to help them.
And you say this is a new adult urban fantasy. So
Yeah.
what? There's so many genres out there. So what do you what
Well,
qualifies to be a new adult urban fantasy?
New Adult is kind of a it's a Hallmark. They say it's a Hallmark holiday, I guess, but New Adult was coined soon after YA became really popular as its own genre. The idea is instead of being high schoolers, new adult protagonists are now in college and they're having their first serious relationships, first time actually on their own, that sort of thing. Just slightly older, rather than being late teens, they're in their early 20s. But the book, I think, does differ from typical new adult fiction, a young adult fiction, because it's about a person's job. And I did find when I was writing it and beta testing it, I lost interest from the people who were in their mid-teens because they didn't care about the workplace humor. The 20 somethings loved it. It was like, I guess I could call it The Office meets The War for the Oaks type of thing.
Oh, gee, I love The Office. Both
Yeah,
both versions of The Office, and now they're
oh,
making another one too. So the paper or whatever they're going to call it.
yeah,
So, but yeah. So you think it appeals more to that twenty
yeah.
something age and up?
It's definitely for an slightly older audience, even though it is written in the same style that I typically use. But hopefully, I mean, I don't try to lock myself into a small audience. I hope everybody reads it and enjoys it. So we'll see what happens.
So what? So you said it takes place in Toronto.
Yes.
So is it like in modern times? Obviously,
Oh
you have
yeah.
trolls and goblins, so we don't really have those, I don't think, in Toronto.
Well,
Never been there,
the,
so I could be wrong.
the idea is in the story they've been hiding behind the furniture all this time.
Ah.
The story is set present day, and the idea is that uh, goblins, trolls, and fairies have been they lost a key battle in Ireland when the Celts invaded, and so in order to survive, they've had to hide themselves away. My explanation is the fairies; they're beautiful people. They can, you know, place themselves in human society and and manipulate things. For the goblins, those that can pass as humans do so, but they tend to be at the lower end of things socially, economically, um, and but those that can't basically have to live under bridges and in rather dour economic circumstances. And so there is a strong economic component about this story about this goblin that is very much aware of the need to keep the human race ignorant of these people, but at the same time he has to function in the human economy. He has to find jobs for his people, and so he's this is the way he's been going about it, with trying to bring in money without giving too much away. Of course, this runs the risk of breaking down the veil and letting the human race see the goblins that are actually there, and the fairies, who very much benefit from the status quo, but also are extremely afraid of the human race seeing what's actually there, very much being opposed to Earth and to the character's boss's plans. So, and things sort of spiral out of control from there.
So is this a one-off book, or do you think
Yeah.
there might be more books in this series?
It's definitely was written as a one-off. I mean, there is a possibility of a follow-up if I decide to write it, but it has a beginning, it has a middle, it has an end. Um, the end, the best endings are ones that aren't where you can see where you're left to wonder where things could go. So it's a bit of an uncertain ending, but it's still an ending. So it's definitely a standalone.
So obviously, you're somewhat traditionally published, but maybe I don't know if you considered hybrid or. And have you had some? It looked like you had some, maybe some independent books that you've
Well,
published
I'm
through your.
definitely making some. I've been very happy uh, with the publishers that I've worked with, but I'm definitely there is one book that I've called it the novel that got away, the Dream King's Daughter, that did get accepted for publication, but then the pandemic happened and it got canceled. So yeah,
I
the Dream
actually
King's
found
Daughter. Thank
had
you.
found it. Yep.
And so I decided, let's just release it. And so I put my book design skills to good use, having made sure to get it edited, and worked with Ingram Spark to produce it. The cover artist is Alicia at Bibliofic Designs. She's also done my the three other covers, the Night Girl, as well as the other two from Shadowpaw Press, the Sunrunners and Tales from the Silence. So um, um, I guess that does make me a hybrid author, although um, I think I think hybrid authors or even true independent authors have a lot more marketing skills or abilities or talents than I have. I do admit that I struggle with that, and it is a lot of hard work, but it can be fun. I'm enjoying doing these podcasts, for instance.
So you, for your new book, you've been going to some bookstores as well, if I believe,
Mhm.
right? You have, I think it was bookstores, right?
Yeah, Wordsworth Books in Waterloo has been there for decades and has been a tremendous supporter of the local authors, including myself. We had a great little get together, a mingle at their store just this past Saturday, where I made sure to bring a cake and another. Yeah, that's the cake. And another book store that I've been working with in Toronto is called Bacca Phoenix now. But back in the 1970s, this is how long it's been around, at least. It was Bacca Books, and it was one of the only science fiction bookstores out there in Canada. And it's still around, and it's still supporting the local science fiction and fantasy writers community. And um, coming back to them, because this was the bookstore I went to get my Doctor Who novelizations back when I was 10. To go and present in front of an audience there is just, it's like coming home. Yeah.
Well, that cake looks almost too good to eat. I mean, they did a really good job on that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
gave obviously the cover and to
Oh,
work with.
oh, yeah. That's the Cake Box in Kitchener. They've done fantastic. They do fantastic cakes and cake and cupcakes too. So if you're in town, definitely check them out.
And I'm sure it tastes as good as it looks, right?
Yeah, it was dark chocolate. It has to be. It's the Night Girl.
So we've talked a little bit about where your book ideas come from.
Mhm.
So do you have a book out there that you want to write that you haven't written yet? That kind
Well,
of started the whole thread?
I'm always writing. I always have something going on. mean, that is one way I sometimes deal with creative stallouts. You have more than one project so that if something doesn't work, you can work on something else while your back brain sort of works through the problems. My current project that I'm rewriting right now is a companion novel to The Sunrunners, and that is a sort of a series. It's not like a linear series. It's not joined together. It's just a series of books set in the same universe. It starts with the Sunrunners, and it carries on with an anthology called Tales from the Silence. And the idea is that the Earth pushes climate change. The Earth doesn't solve climate change, but it does push the effects back long enough that they are able to set up colonies on the in the inner solar system on Mercury, Venus, Mars, and research stations in the Jupiter moons. But then the environmental catastrophe catches up with it, and the Earth goes silent, and that leaves the inner colonies to fend for themselves in various states of self-sufficiency, or in the case of Mercury, not. So the Sunrunners is set on Mercury. Tales from the Silence, I invited 10 other authors to come in. I made sure to pay them. That's always important. And told them, it's like, this is what's happening on these planets. Write your stories, have fun. And that was a lot of fun. But the project I'm working on is called The Cloud Riders, and is the story that's set on Venus and Mars in this period. It's sort of we see like the Venus through the eyes of this young woman who's working to become a police and rescue officer, and she rescues this Martian who falls out of the sky on an asteroid scow, and who turns out to have been an old pen pal of hers, and she helps him acclimatize to Venus and get into Venusian society, and a series of things happens so that he has to go back to Mars, and she goes back with him to help him deal with the issues that sent him to Venus in the first place. It's kind of like an interplanetary country mouse, city mouse type of thing, where we compare and contrast the two planets and societies.
So you would classify this as science fiction then?
Yeah, it was definitely science fiction. And further out, there is a story I'm working on called The Curator of Forgotten Things, and that's set in the near future in Halifax. And the idea is there that all the jobs have been automated, but fortunately, uh, the national minimum income has been brought in, so people are paid enough to live and have a roof over their heads and do whatever they want. So it's actually not a bad world out there. But then a dementia sweeps through the human race, that the only people who are unaffected by it are A, they're left-handed, and B, they are either still employed, or they are involved in a hobby or a passion so much, they're so passionate about a particular hobby that it's as if it's a career to them. So basically, these people are saved by their passions. It's explores the idea of, we identify ourselves not only by who we are, but by what we do, and what's going to happen if all the jobs go away and we can no longer identify ourselves by what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, automation is obviously a big thing, and AI now coming into everything, and yeah, it's
Yeah,
we, we
sometimes I do worry, like this, that the the science is catching up to the science fiction, and what am I going to do?
yes, all the stuff that you read, all those older science fiction novels, and it's like, how many of those things are true these days?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, do any of your are any of your characters based on any real people you know?
I think, I mean, not directly. I make a joke about a particular television personality as being the mayor of Toronto and the Night Girl, but that's about as far as I go. These people form in my head as independent characters, but I'm sure they take on attributes of people that I know or meet or are friends with, that sort of thing. Um, and so I just uh, the main character of the Night Girl. Her name is Perpetua, and I just loved exploring how this woman, who I guess is a bit naive because she came to Toronto with just $500 in her pocket, hoping to make it, but she has the passion, she has the determination to push through all her obstacles, and it's not easy, but she still tries. So I I can't say that it's about any particular people that I've met, but anywhere where people have like had to deal with obstacles in their lives, or who've had to overcome frustrations. Certainly, the frustrations they deal with have been things that I've encountered, like voicemail, or or some of the bizarre things that we encounter on our day-to-day lives, some snippets of conversations that we overhear. But yeah, nothing that I can be sued for. Although I was almost sued by the CN Tower for the first version of this book.
Oh, really? Why is
Oh
that?
yeah, that's a fun story. The first version of the novel features the CN Tower. That's the big Space Needle in Toronto
Yeah.
that the city is famous for. I'm learning that it's not as world famous as we like to think it is, but it was like the world's tallest freestanding structure until Burj Khalifa beat us in 2007. But it had that iconic building prominent on the cover, and we had gotten that picture perfectly legally through a photography licensing website, and the cover artist who had done hundreds of these things had put it together. It was a good looking cover, and we posted on social media. And on the day that was our official release date, I get a email from Canada Lands Corporation, which is the company that owns the CN Tower. It's a crown corporation here. It used to be owned by Canadian National Railway, and saying you are violating our trademark. This is a cease and desist. Basically, they were asking me to pulp the first printing of this book, and I saw that and I freaked out. And I don't mind saying that. But my wife Erin said, I talked to her about it, and she said this is an opportunity, because I mean you can use this for publicity. So I went to my colleagues at Science Fiction Canada, it's the science fiction writers group online, and sort of told them my story. And Cory Doctorow, you've heard of him, I hope, and came to me, and he's very passionate about these copyright issues, and this is I mean, and it's absolutely the case. It says so right in the law that you cannot copyright a building in Canada. It says so right in the law.
Mhm.
Any photograph of a public building taken from a publicly accessible location is the exclusive copyright of the person who takes the picture.
Right.
So the photographer had licensed the picture. We bought the license from him. That was all legal. Now, they didn't say it was a copyright violation. They said it was a trademark violation. But the issue of trademark is it's to protect your brand from confusion and
Right.
from slander, essentially, from damage. And just the fact that we were so very different. I mean, it's a building. This is a book. You know,
Yeah.
people are
You're not
not
really
going to
violating a
think.
trademark when you just have
Yeah,
it
I
on
mean,
the cover of a book. You're not.
nobody's going to think that CN Tower is producing a series of fantasy novels with strong female protagonists. And nobody's going to think that I'm writing a guidebook here and saying the CN Tower is infested with goblins and trolls and thus not go. So there is no confusion that's going to be happening here. There's no brand damage here. And I also was able to Google very within 5 minutes other Canadian authors who had the CN Tower on their book, and it's like from larger publishers than me. than what I was working with. And I said to them, "Did you have any issues with them?" They said, "No, they never talked to us." So Cory Doctorow put me in touch with the pro bono lawyer who wrote the very excellent letter, sort of detailing in classic legal language you know, why you are wrong and why you should go away now and do something anatomically unlikely, so we say, and. And we sent that letter off to Catalans, and we sent it off to David Nicol at the Toronto Star, who printed it in the Star. And so, these people ended up with having a bit of a day, shall we say, which is fine because they gave me one too. And they eventually they said they wrote back. They disagreed with our assessment, but they said they weren't going to carry on with this. So that was a win. So
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
I'm really indebted to Cory Doctorow for putting that together, for my colleagues at Science Fiction Canada for their support, and also I'm indebted to the people at the Canada Lands for giving me such a great tale to talk about my story here.
So, are you a pantser or a plotter when it comes to writing your books?
I definitely think I think I'm a pantser.
Yeah.
I tend to throw things. I tend to come up with a bunch of individual scenes of, hey, wouldn't this character be interesting? And what if they encountered this? And what if this happened? And how can I get to here? And then I throw a lot of things at the wall to see what sticks. And then
Mhm.
I spend a lot of time trying to connect the dots between the various cool things. So, and I do think that may be one reason why it sometimes takes me a long time to write some of these books, and why I had to rewrite the Night Girl from the ground up at one point. Um, I had a lot of the story there, but it wasn't quite gelling, and so I had to rethink. I had to rethink some of the things that were there. For instance, my initial draft did not have the fairies in it as the people who wanted the status quo maintained. And so that was a bit of an imbalance in the antagonists. And so by bringing them in, suddenly the whole picture worked. And that was exploring, that was uncovering, and that's a lot of fun. I mean, it's maybe not as efficient as plotting things out before you write, but I find it a lot more fun.
I've interviewed a lot of authors, and I've even been on some panels talking about plotting and pantsing. And I used to say the same thing. Well, plotting is probably a lot easier. And I've had other authors say, not necessarily so.
You have to come up
Sometimes
with
when
the
they start
plots.
to write, that plot, whatever they've plotted, doesn't always work with the way it goes.
Yeah,
So it isn't always more efficient. It can be. It just depends on how your brain works.
exactly. Yeah,
I'm a total pantser, so all the way. I rarely have ever. I tried to plot and I couldn't do it.
yeah.
Just didn't
I
work for
do some plotting, but midway through. So I've already discovered a fair chunk of the plot
me.
through pantsing, and so I have to now write it out, saying, okay, to get from here to here, these things have to happen, and so these things become these scenes, and then I expand these scenes. So, but that's later on. That's well past the pantsing process.
So the name of the show is Bringing Life to Characters. I always ask every author on the show this same question: what do you do to get those characters, bring them to life, get them to jump off the pages? Obviously, you have some fictional, or you have your trolls and your fairies and goblins and stuff. So, but they still have to have characteristics that people will like
Oh yeah,
or
or
even
people,
hate in
yeah,
some
or people,
cases.
or just generally identify with. Um, I think the voice is important. Whether I write in the first person with the voice of the author, or the voice of the main character, or if I'm writing in the third person, I tend to get deep into the main character's head so that you actually hear their thoughts. So their voice is never very far away from the reader. Um, I don't know how true this is, but my style has been described as like trying to get my own voice out of there as much as possible. I'm just the camera, um, describing the surroundings, describing the setting, and but it's the character's voice, the character's actions, the character's thoughts that sort of show off the interpretation of what's happening, and hopefully engaging the reader and making that connection between not the reader and me, but the reader and the character.
So your books are a mix of first and third person, or you've
Yeah.
had some books that are all first person and then others are third person, or
Um, my first person novel was Icarus Down, which is my fourth book, and I'm returned to that again with the Cloud Riders. Most everything else has been in the third person, but again, I've been like keeping the camera very close to the basically on the main character's shoulder and hooked up to the main character's thoughts. So they're the ones providing a lot of the observations and judgments, and but and the reader is like right there beside them. Yeah.
so do you have any advice for aspiring authors? You've obviously been on a fairly long journey to get where you are today. So
Well, the best thing you can do is, this comes from Archie Comics, which apparently had an advice column back in the '80s, '70s, and they received the request of how do you become a writer, and they actually answered it seriously. They said write, write, write. So I would, you know, just explore, right? Just go out there, explore, write what catches your attention. I definitely recommend fan fiction because um, it allows you to practice, writing, uh, you know, plots and settings and other characters with while being able to pick off various things off the shelf, including established characters, the universe, and it comes with a community that is willing to read your stuff and to be critical, but also very supportive. So that's just absolutely vital. The writer succeeds by writing. They just not right away. I guess is the best thing to say. It's the writer succeeds by writing, and to succeed, you just got to start writing.
so you mentioned earlier you weren't very good at marketing. Do you have any marketing tips or don't do this marketing trips?
Well, I think you have to have a lot more. You have to have a lot more confidence and possibly a willingness to. I mean, all writers have to have a willingness to face rejection. So some things may not work, and you just have to pick yourself up, and just try again. Um, I'm still exploring how to sort of help out with the marketing, but I've been grateful to Ed at Shadow Paw Press for engaging with marketers like Mickey to bring me out to podcasters like yourself and get the word out. So, um, in terms of getting yourself out there, I think actually one of the best things you can do is go to attend writing conventions. I was recently at When Words Collide. It has a heavy science fiction and fantasy component, but it is mostly about the craft of writing. So there are other professional writers and indie writers and self-publishers out there uh, talking about their own experience and sharing their secrets, and it's also a very affirming and confidence building place to attend. So look for those conventions and sign up and attend and get yourself in the community of writers. That's ultimately what you got to do. You got to get yourself out there among friends and among colleagues, and that'll help you get your word out. Maybe slowly, Maybe maybe it relies a lot more on luck than we like to admit, but the only way to fail is not to try.
Do
Yeah.
you have any plans of going to BoucherCon in 2026? It's going to be in Calgary that year.
I'm seriously thinking about it. I mean, I can't plan too far ahead. There's just too many things happening.
I
But
know, of course. Yeah.
yeah, Wordsworth is also going to be in Calgary next year too, so I might come back
Uh-huh.
to that. There's CanCon in Ottawa. That's been a great place for science fiction writers, science fiction and fantasy, and I'd like to come back to that. Um, yeah, I always enjoy a good con.
Yeah, I did a Comic Con once. I didn't really sell any books, but it was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
Just seeing everybody in the costumes, getting pictures of them, and all that.
yeah.
It
The
was just a joy.
costumes.
They were really long days, though. Oh my
Oh
god.
yeah. I mean, the costume people are just they have me in awe.
Yeah. They are dedicated fans. You dream of having fans like that. Maybe in your case, dressing up as one of your characters, right? It's
That'll
like,
be me coming full circle, really.
yes. All right. Well, we're kind of winding down here. So, what events do you have? I think you said on your website you had another bookstore or somewhere that you were going to
Yeah,
promote your new book.
I will be bringing cake to Back of Phoenix Books in Toronto at 6 o'clock on Thursday, September the 18th. I hope I got that date right. I think so. And I'm looking forward to seeing people there. Back has been great in promoting this, and so um, I'm looking forward to reading a bit from the story, answering a few questions, and signing copies, and of course, sharing some cake.
Well, cake's always a good attraction, right? So,
Absolutely.
and you usually do a little reading as well at those
Oh
events.
yeah. There's a scene that I like to do where Perpetua has her job interview with her goblin boss, and that's a good way to get people into it.
And then, where can people find you? I got your. Let's see here. I've got that
Yeah,
right
my
here.
main website, which covers all my books and my writing and my politics, which is heavily Canadian and urban transit based, is at bojamesbow.ca. The book itself has a dedicated website called nightgirl.ca. There are sample chapters there for people to read and some extra graphics for them for people to download. So check those out. And there'll be a link from bojamesbow.ca to my Patreon page because I'm going to be ramping up giving away some of my old, fictional extras, that sort of thing. So sign up and you'll receive short stories, hopefully, and we'll see what else.
So, being you were a website designer at one time, did you design this website yourself?
Yes.
It's all yours.
I mean, I'm sure the style is slightly out of date, but it gets the job done. And I'm quite pleased to say that I crafted it directly from HTML. So it's like the digital equivalent of like wooden tools and augers and stuff.
Yes, I just redid my website and I did it as well. And I was watching a lot of YouTube because there's a lot of applications out there. It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of drag and drop and stuff and everything. And Elementor is the one that I use. But yeah, so it's definitely if you're doing the coding yourself, that's definitely a lot different.
Yeah.
And then, are there options if people can't come to see you at the bookstores and stuff to purchase signed copies through your website or somewhere else?
I mean, people can reach out to me at the bookstore at those websites. My email address is there, and yeah, I'd be happy to sign copies and send them off, and I'll be definitely be in touch about any sort of other events that are coming up as they come up. So it's a good place to go to see where I'm at.
And you do have a newsletter as well, you said, or something that goes
Yeah,
out
I'm
to inform
working
people?
on expanding onto Patreon. I'm keeping it free right now, but I'm using that to send my blog posts out to people's emails. It's about time that I move away from the early part of this millennium of just being a blog and actually get more active with my with my marketing.
Great.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to cover?
No, I'm really pleased. Once again, thank you for having me here. I'm really pleased to talk about the Night Girl, and hopefully people will pick it up and enjoy it, and follow me for future stories.
This comment just came up from DJ
Oh,
McCool, he's a science fiction writer as well. I got to get DJ on one of these days. So,
okay.
DJ, I'm booked through the year, but I've got you on my list. So eventually
Well,
get you on the show.
look me up
But
on the
yeah,
sites, and we'll see. Maybe we could talk.
yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on. Other than our little hiccup to start with, I think we got things rolling, and it looks like the recording works. So I will get back to you with the link to the recording, and the YouTube hopefully should be the same, but it might be different now that the
Yeah,
first one dropped failed. But we'll see. Once I get into the back end here, I'll take a look. But
sounds great.
appreciate
Thanks
you
again
being
for
on,
having me.
James. Hopefully
Sorry, say it again.
we'll run into you somewhere along the line, maybe because we're talking about going to BoucherCon in Calgary. So
All right, sounds
and my
great.
wife. So we've wanted to get up to Canada. It's in October though, so the weather can be a little iffy. We'll see.
October should be fine, at least
Yeah.
in this day and age. So, well, I look forward to it.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks,
All right.
James.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you being on. I'm just going to throw a quick plug out for myself. I just, thankfully, let's see if I can find it here. Just won Internet Reader's Favorite bronze medal for my Justice for the Forgotten book, which been getting great reviews. So I hope people will check that out. Next week, on Tuesday as well, I will have Sebastian D. Castell on. So that will be fun, and it'll be the same time, Tuesday night at 6 p.m. So I hope you'll tune in. Thanks, everyone. You all have a great rest of your evening.